everybody. We'll go ahead and get started with our program here. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Creative Storytelling Workshops, an LA County Library virtual event in partnership with the LA County Museum of Art, or LACMA. My name is Caroline Chang. I am the Arts Program Manager at LA County Library, and I will be your host today. Before we begin, we wanted to make a quick introduction with one of our resources for parents and caregivers with one of our positive parenting librarians. So we have Yvonne here who will make do a description really quickly.
Hi, everybody. My name is Yvonne, and I'm a positive parenting librarian with LA County Library. Before we get started today, I'd like to tell you a little bit about how LA County Library can help to support your parenting needs. I have been accredited by a research-based positive parenting program to provide tips and resources to help you with your child's behavior. These tips can include topics such as encouraging creativity or supporting your partner or balancing work and family. I'll be available during the program to answer questions in the chat as well as for 10 minutes after the program. You can also schedule a one-on-one consultation with a positive parenting librarian. I have posted the link for the one-on-one consultation in the chat box right now. These consultations are available in both English and Spanish. You will also be able to find this link in the email that will go out right after the program ends. Thank you so much, and I look forward to chatting with you.
All right, thank you so much, Yvonne, and for telling us all about that wonderful resource for parents and caregivers. Continuing with today's program, exploring the theme of cultural identity, librarian Cheryl will be reading the book Fry Bread, a Native American family story for us, followed by an art activity led by LACMA teaching artist Billy and moderated by Susie. So let's just get started. Cheryl will start us off with a story reading. Take it away.
Hi, my name is Cheryl, and I'm a librarian with the LA County Library. I'm at the Woodcrest branch. We would like to thank Roaring Book Press, an imprint from Macmillan, for allowing us to use today's book in this program. This is Fry Bread, and it's by Kevin Noble Maillard and illustrated by Juana Martinez Neal. So let's go ahead and get started. I see Robbie Smith wants to know how to turn on their video, if anyone could help them. Fry bread. Fry bread is food: flour, salt, water, cornmeal, baking powder, perhaps milk, maybe sugar, all mixed together in a big bowl. Fry bread is shape. Hands mold the dough, flat like a pancake, round like a ball, or puffy like Nana's softest pillow. Fry bread is sound. The skillet clings on the stove. The fire blazes from below. Drop the dough in the skillet. The bubbles sizzle and pop. Fry bread is color. Golden brown, tan or yellow. Deep like coffee, sienna or earth. Light like snow and cream. Warm like rays of sun. Fry bread is flavor. See beans or soup. Smell tacos, cheese, and vegetables. Delight in honey and jam. Rise to discover what brings us together. Fry bread is time on weekdays and holidays, supper or dinner, powwows and festivals, moments together with family and friends. Fry bread is art, sculpture, landscape, portrait, our daily craft, shared from teacher to student, a cycle of heritage and fortune. Fry bread is history, the long walk, the stolen land, strangers in our own world. With unknown food, we make new recipes from what we had. Fry bread is place, Alaska, Kansas, all the way to Maine, down to Delaware, on to Georgia, over to Oklahoma, Colorado, and California. Cities and lands we call home. Fry bread is nation, Abenaki, Apache, Arapaho, Obiji, Onondaga, Ogala, Sioux, Nagaset, Navajo, Nipmuc, Seminole, Shoshone, Sauk, and Fox. Hundreds and hundreds of tribes. Fry bread is everything. Round, flat, large, small, north, south, east, west, brown, yellow, black, white, familiar and foreign, old and new, we come together. Fry bread is us. We are still here, elder and young, friend and neighbor. We strengthen each other to learn, change, and survive. Fry bread is you. And if you check out the book, you'll see that there's a recipe at the end. That's fry bread. Thank you.
So thank you so much. That's a wonderful reading. It was really great. So now we'll switch gears to our arts workshop, and I will hand it over to our friends at LACMA. So I guess Susie and Billy, you can take it away.
Hi everyone, my name's Billy. I'm a teaching artist from LACMA, and Susie, if you want to give a shout hello.
Hello everyone.
So Susie and I are going to be working together today. One thing I want to emphasize is we really want you to use the chat. So you can't turn your videos on, so we can't see you, but we can have you communicate with us through the chat. So make sure that it's set to all panelists. If you write something in the chat, I might ask you a question about something and you can reply. You can give us ideas about your artwork. You can share things, and I'll try and read them aloud so that we can all share your ideas and thoughts. Okay. What we're going to do, and also if you have questions about materials or anything, Susie will also be able to see and answer your questions. So make sure to write those things in the chat. To get started, I just want to go over materials for today. We are going to be making a very special object, and we're going to be using a combination of materials. So first of all, I'm going to be teaching you how to make special objects in a few different ways, depending on what materials you have at home. So we might just use cardboard, we might use found and recycled objects, or we might use just flat paper if that's all that you have. So a few different options. Sorry if there's a little noise here. It's my plane flying by in the background. Okay, so just to go over the materials one more time, more specifically, and this is the time, if you haven't got them yet, to get up and you can run around and grab what you need. So you can use coloring materials. You'll need some scissors. That's important. You can also rip and tear paper if you don't have scissors, but scissors will be good if you want to use the cardboard. Coming to the cardboard, a recycled cardboard. It can be the back of a cereal box. It can be the side of a cardboard box. Any kind of recycled cardboards, can use those. You also need some 2D materials. So that means flat things like I have some tin foil here, colored paper. If you don't have colored paper, what's fun is that you can use your coloring pencils and white paper to make your own colored paper, or use, color different shades onto white paper. You can even use recycled wrapping paper, fabric, or even ads that you get from the store that come in your mailbox. You can cut those up and find colors that you like in those. So that's some things that you can gather. You might, if you want to do something like this, which I'm going to tell you all about, you might also want some little objects that you find around the house, like corks, bottle caps, pipe cleaners, if you have those. And there's all kinds of other little things like buttons. Buttons are good, you could use. And then you'll also need, since we have all these things, how are we going to bring them together? You'll need some glue. If you have this white runny glue, like school glue, this is best because it's a little stronger. But if you don't have this type of glue, you can do, if you're just using cardboard or paper, then just a glue stick will work fine. I think that's everything. Yes, I think that's everything. Remember, if you have any questions about materials, you can go ahead and put that in the chat. I'm going to go ahead now and tell you what we're going to be doing. We're going to be creating an object inspired by our culture and identity, a bit like that wonderful book about the fry bread. A piece of fry bread is an object that represents culture and identity, and that's what we're going to be making. But I want to share with you an object in LACMA's collection that inspired this project, and ask you some questions about it. So Caroline, there we go, perfect, I can share now, that's great. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen with you. There we go. All right, so this is the part where I'm really going to ask you to hopefully type in the chat and respond to this object that we're looking at here. This is from the museum's collection. It's a small stone amulet. And it was made in Egypt around 3,000 years ago. And the first question I want to ask you is, does the shape of this object remind you of anything? Does it remind you of anything? Take a look from top to bottom. I might ask Susie for her ideas about what it reminds her of. Oh, I can see some things here. Oh, people saying beetle, somebody saying I love ancient Egypt, somebody says it reminds them of an egg, it's like the shape of an egg, a turtle, a beetle. Lots of good ideas, really cool. Somebody says a rock painting. Well, it is made out of a type of stone, so that's a good observation. Lots of good comments here. Somebody says they love ancient Egypt and it reminds them of a beetle. So yeah, you're exactly right. This is a scarab beetle. A bug, someone says a bug too. So this is a scarab beetle. Now a scarab beetle is also known as a dung beetle. Anyone ever heard of a dung beetle before? I'll tell you the story about why the ancient Egyptians made this object, this special amulet in the shape of a scarab beetle. The dung beetle is well known for being very strong and persevering. It rolls its food, which is a giant ball of dung, to its burrow every day. It rolls it a really long way. And so the ancient Egyptians believed that, I'm going to show you one more little animation. The ancient Egyptians believed that the scarab beetle or the dung beetle rolled the sun all the way across the sky every day, just like the dung beetle would roll his dung towards his burrow. So they were imagining that the scarab beetle had a lot of special powers. And so the reason the scarab beetle was so important is because they believed that it was linked to the sun god Ra, the Egyptian sun god. And when they would carry this special amulet, it was believed that they would take on some of the special powers and qualities of that scarab beetle. But let's turn the amulet over and look at the other side. What do you notice? Take a look at the shapes and lines engraved on the other side of this amulet, this little object. Let's take a look. What do you notice? What shapes and lines remind you of on this other side? Anyone? You want to type your answers in the chat? Somebody says maybe the sun god. Somebody says it looks like a girl, a person holding a hook. It looks like a person, a pharaoh with a staff. Somebody says it's so cool. Yeah, it's amazing that this is, around 3,000 years old. And somebody says it looks like somebody like a shepherd or something like that. So you're actually all pretty correct here. So this is the Egyptian goddess Mut, also sometimes connected with the sun gods, but also she was the god of truth and justice as well. And she's a very special god at that time, very important at the time when this was made. So this object has important messages on the back and the front. It represents a special object. And so what we're going to do today is we are going to create a talisman or an amulet, a special object inspired by our culture and identity, because we can learn from those objects. We can learn about the ancient Egyptians, right? Isn't that amazing? We can learn about a group of people 3,000 years ago from looking at an object. So we're going to create our own object. But let's think about what culture is. First of all, culture is a pattern of behavior. It's something that we do, that we share with other people. Could be people in our family or the area that we live. But it's a group of people or a society or a country even. And there are many different things that can make up a society's or group of people's culture. Can anyone give me an example or of something that might represent your culture, or word that might be part of your culture, or something that's included in culture? So somebody says it's about something that you wear, like in Indian culture, wearing a particular type of, it's a thread around their ankle. Somebody says language, that's another thing that's part of culture. And there we go. I was waiting for somebody to say food, because that's exactly what the book was about, right? Fry bet. So that's food. And somebody else says surfing. That's a good example of something I don't have on this list here. Surfing, also things that we do can be part of our culture. So this is some of the things that can be included in someone's culture, but I'm sure there's many more. So food, as you said, clothing, the music we listen to and the art that we make or look at, the tools that we use, our religion and language, and also our customs and traditions, right? So I want us to think about these things to be inspired to create our object today. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm going to, can we switch to my art making screen so that we can see? Okay, is my art making screen nice and big? Oh, there we go. Okay, awesome. So everyone, I'm hoping everybody's got their materials ready, and that you have everything in front of you. As I said, we're going to be making an object that represents something from our culture. So if you want to do something like food, like we heard in the book, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to make a talisman or an amulet, special object that represents a cup of tea, because as you can tell by my accent, maybe you can tell I'm from England and we like to drink a lot of tea. The reason I'm going to do tea is because when I sit down and drink tea with family and friends, it's more than just a cup of tea. It's also remembering what it's like to talk with people and share stories and ideas with family and friends when you drink a cup of tea. So this is my special object that I'm going to work on today. But you should choose an object that's special to you. It could be something like an item of food from your culture, could be anything really, any kind of object that you want to make. Susie, do you have any ideas for what you might make an object?
Yeah, I think I'm also going to do bread. So I'm going to do, I think, pan dulce, and specifically a concha, because that's something that I have a lot of memories of as a kid, like going to the bakery, the panaderia, and like picking it. It's just covered in sugar that looks like a shell, and that's how it gets its name, concha.
I love that idea. So if anyone else wants to share ideas about an object that they might make, you can go ahead and put those into the chat because it might give other people ideas. So if you want to share any ideas for objects that you want to create, put them ahead in the chat. And I'm going to start with the very first step of this project. So the first thing that you're going to need to do is get yourself a base. So if you don't have cardboard, or if you have little hands and cutting thick cardboard is difficult, you might want to do this project using paper. So you might want to use a base that's either paper, or if you want to do something that's more 3D and a little more sturdy, then try using cardboard. So maybe cardboard from a cereal box or something like that. So you need your base first. That's the most important thing. So I can see somebody said a crown with an elephant. Oh, I love that idea. Yeah, so I'll refer, maybe I can give you ideas about how you can make that. So once you've got your base, I will give everyone a couple of seconds to grab a piece of cardboard. It doesn't matter if your base is perfectly cut out, because later, you see how with this one, I kind of cut it out into a shape. We might do that. So it doesn't have to be perfect quite yet. You just need a base to start with. The next thing you're going to need is either paper or more cardboard that you're going to cut the shape of your object out of. So I'm seeing some more ideas. I love this. I can't wait. I'm going to read that out in a second because that was a really good, somebody just put something really good in the chat, and I'll read it out in a second. So if you have an idea for what object you want to create, you want to take a piece of cardboard and think about what shape you're going to draw that you're going to then cut out. So for example, with my cup of tea, I'm going to just draw a very simple shape like this. Sometimes it can be hard to know what shapes to use. Sometimes just to picture the object you want to create in your head and think, what shapes make that object up? Is it like with a crown, for example? I could imagine kind of a series of triangles on top of a kind of a stripe underneath, right? And I'm gonna, there we go. So there we go. This is my cup, the very basic shape of my cup. And what I'm gonna do is actually cut that out. So somebody said, I will make a dandiya. It's a decorated stick. We use it in dancing. In one of our Navratri days in October or November. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing things incorrectly, but that sounds amazing. Oh, and somebody's making food, which is berries and mac and cheese. Oh, that sounds so good. So like a bowl with food in it, that sounds like a great idea. So yeah, if you're doing like a bowl, something like that, you could use cardboard to do that. Once you've finished your shape, you can cut it out like so, like this. So I'm going to give everyone the time to draw their shape and cut, but I'm also going to show you how to do this with some other materials. So if you are not using cardboard, you can cut shapes out of paper also. So for example, if you're just using paper, I have my base here. My grandmother used to feed hummingbirds and collect all these little hummingbird figurines. So I drew a shape of a hummingbird, which you could also do and then cut out of colored paper or textured paper. You could also cut lots of different shapes, all kinds of things that you can do. So if you're using paper, you can do that. So also using sticks, good one. I'll also show you if you are using other materials like you know, corks and bottle caps and buttons. So you can, I showed you this one earlier where I made, like, if you're making a figure or an animal or anything like that in different kinds of shapes, and you have objects that fit those shapes, I'll show you how to do that. So for example, I might start arranging my objects onto my base and thinking about how they can come together. So if I wanted to make an animal, for example, I had some wire, but you could also use like a pipe cleaner, something like that. You could even just use bits of cardboard cut out and use those as legs. I'm not gonna glue anything down yet. I'm just gonna place it like this. And then see, this is also tin foil, which you can crumple up and actually shape it into different shapes, which is useful because you can turn, you know, create a little kind of fox head or something like that. So, or a little tail also. So you can use found objects, recycled materials also to make the basic shapes of your object. Okay. So I'm going to go back to working in my cardboard now. That was just some suggestions. Do we have any questions? Oh, somebody says a bear, the shape of a bear because they're part of Cub Scouts. Yeah, so if you have, like, for example, if you are part of a club or something at school and there's a shape or a symbol, then that's a really good idea to get inspiration for what shapes you're going to make your amulet in. Okay, so I'm going to show you another technique here that I've used because I want my amulet, I want my object to be kind of 3D, chunky, not just flat. So I'm actually going to cut, you don't have to do this, but I'm going to cut more shapes. I'm going to like kind of cut more shapes the same size and make it stand out more, you see? And then I kind of want the rim of my cup to stand out more as well. So I'm going to do this, start to kind of cut different shapes, add details.
And Billy, we have some young participants, so if you can go a little slower, that might make it easier for them.
Absolutely. I'm not even going to the next step, I promise. Not going to next step. I'm showing ideas. I'm going to go totally slow, I promise. Remember, we're going to go with the very basic cutting out a shape first. So I'm going to go back to that step. So you can cut out any shape of your object. You draw your object onto paper or cardboard and cut it out. If you are very young and you have trouble using scissors, you can try using paper to cut out your object. So maybe I'll even show you that step. Let's take a look. I'm actually going to draw my, I'm going to cut my paper out in half and show you that step. Okay. Like so. So for example, if I was going to do the same thing, I could draw my paper, draw my shape like this. And if you don't have access to scissors, I'm going to show you a little trick. So you can actually pinch the paper. If you have trouble with scissors or you don't have them, you can tear the paper like this. You just pinch and tear so that you can cut out your shape like this. If you do have scissors, you can cut your shape out perfectly, but if you don't, it's okay. And you can place it onto your base, something like this. It doesn't have to be perfect. You can just go with the outline. See what I did before? I cut out a shape in different papers started to add details. So you can totally do that if you're a little bit younger and have littler hands or don't have access to scissors. This is what you can do. And also, even if you are a younger participant, if you have a grown-up with you, they can also help you with cutting out your object. So for those of you that are wondering about going back to making your object a little bit 3D, what I did is I actually cut out lots of shapes that I'm stacking on top of each other like this. And I haven't glued anything yet because I'm just showing you how you can bring pieces together to make your object kind of more 3D, stand up, more chunky, make it stand off the page. Because we looked at that, you see how it's like a little bit raised off the cardboard? But remember, if you're just doing papers, you totally don't have to do that. This one's just flat, you see? So, but if you do want to do this, you can start to cut out details. You can also use, if you have sort of flat found objects, you can also use them to become part of your amulet. This is a button, came with a pair of pants I have, and you can use other flat objects to add little details. Susie, how are you going about making your object, or what are you thinking? Are you using paper or cardboard or found objects?
I'm using cardboard and paper, potentially also yarn. I found some yarn while I was looking for stuff to yarn. We'll see. I think it might make for an interesting texture.
Oh yeah, that's a really good idea. I've completely forgotten about, I did mention fabric, but yarn is really good. So definitely, if you've got yarn around the home, and it's also a nice, the word texture is really good. So the feeling of it, it's really soft, and it might add a really nice texture to your object.
I have a Pringles lid that I use to trace the shape of a circle.
That's also a good idea. So if you're struggling, if you are wanting to know how to draw things or what shapes, definitely drawing, you can even use, see how I've, just like Susie just said, she had a lid of something, and you can use the bottom of a jar or a holder, and you can use it to make shapes, to draw around them. So you could use, if you have a square object, you could draw around like a coaster. I have this, wait, I have something I can show you. For example, I have this coaster, and you could use that if you wanted to draw around to make a square. So you can draw around things in the house. This project's all about using what we have at home and turning it into something special. So I'm going to get to the next little bit, which is the starting to glue things down. So if you have your base and you want to keep it just like this with the brown cardboard, that's totally fine. If you like to leave it how it is, or if you want to use colored pens to add a little color, you can also do that. But I am going to use a piece of colored paper that I have, or you could use fabric. Like I have fabric here I could use, but I'm going to use colored paper, and I'm going to just apply some glue. Oh, make sure the glue is going to come out. I'm just going to apply some glue to the back. I'm going to kind of put it all over just so it's stuck down really well, just like that. So, and then that's why I didn't stick anything down yet, because now my cup has a nice brightly colored background. But if you have stuck things down, you can always color around it. That also works too. So that's totally fine. And then what you'll begin to do is start to glue down each part of your object or your objects. And you'll start to glue your layers down on top of the other. And I'm going to show you how to do that in a bit, but I want to slow down. Again, I'm going to offer some other suggestions if you're using other materials other than cardboard. So let's see. me show you what we will do if you were going to glue down these things. So if you were going to glue down these things, you need to probably give a little time for these to dry if you're going to be gluing down heavy objects like this. But I'm going to show you just a line of glue along the base and stick it down. If you just leave it, it will move around at the moment, but if you leave that in place for a little bit, it will dry and become set. You just don't want to move it around too much. I'm going to do a bit of glue on these. There we go. Okay. So if anyone has any techniques or objects that they're using, so if you're using, I don't know, something that I haven't suggested, like Susie said she's using yarn. If you have any objects at home that you're using that are working really well for your shapes, or say you have a cool piece of type of paper or something that you're using, type it in the chat, because you never know, somebody else might have that at home and they might be like, oh, that would be a really good idea. Oh, so somebody says they're using a stapler because they have no glue. That is a really good point. If you don't have glue, I would definitely suggest doing the project just using flat papers. And yeah, totally, you can use a stapler to secure parts of your artwork. So totally, that's a good technique tip. All right, so I'm going to come back to my object here. We have an okay amount of time. I just want to make sure that I get to show you all the fun things. Remember, you won't finish this in this one class, and you should actually plan to keep making this. Oh, somebody says that they're making a cat, so that they're crumpling up paper and then smoothing it out because I want it to look furry. Oh, that's a really good idea. So you can actually do this with tin foil as well. See how my tin foil is all crunchy? Well, you can do that with paper by crunching up the paper till it looks kind of soft and furry.
Someone's using coffee filters.
Ooh, that's another coffee filters. That's excellent. So if you don't have, that's a really good type of paper that you can use. Again, papers you can find around the house. Sometimes you have lunch bags or brown paper bags from the store. You could even use those to make a kind of 2D thing. But if you're using your cardboard, I'm going to show you the next kind of step. I'm using glitter glue. Oh, I love glitter glue. Can't get enough of glitter glue. Also, actually, that brings me to my next thing. So once you've started to add your cardboard shapes or your paper shapes or your different 3 little recycled objects to your base, oh, somebody's using tinfoil as rays of sun. Oh, wow, that's beautiful. I love that idea. Oh, because they're sparkly as well. Also, think about that as well. Like, if you want to use a certain material to show certain things, like tinfoil or glitter glue, in fact, it's a really good idea to show rays of sun because they sparkle, right? But this brings me to my next thing about color. And you can add color in a few different ways if you're using collage like this 2D, if you're using papers like this, or you're using cardboard. You can add color by using coloring markers or pencils if you have, you know, white cardboard. If you don't, you can still do it. You see, with the brown of the cardboard, you can still add color with markers. It's just a little bit muted. It's not quite as bright. And if you do want bright colors, then you can also add details and shapes by sticking colored paper to the surface of your object, like this. Oh, somebody says that they're making a mosque. Beautiful. I love that idea. And the shape, so you're creating almost like a whole building and having the shape of the building. I love that idea. I think that's beautiful thought. Buildings have really interesting shapes too. Let's see, I'm going to check the chat just to make sure I haven't missed anybody's contributions. Also, I think I already called this out, but somebody said that they're doing chopsticks, which would be really great to add. You could use cardboard to do those. And if anyone else wants to share any objects they're making or materials that they're using, let us know. So as I said, you can start to add color and detail just by gluing strips of paper or shapes of paper, or by coloring with marker pens or coloring pencils. So for example, I'm gonna add some color into my little area in here. Or I might actually, I have a brown piece of paper that might fit in here. Let's see, does that fit? Oh, that seems about right. That looks like a cup of tea to me, even hot chocolate.
Someone's using popsicle sticks and paper towel rolls.
Oh, that's a really good one. Yes. So, and also the paper towel roll is great because that already has a kind of shape to it. You could cut it into rings or circles. You can also, popsicle sticks are great because you can layer them on top of each other. You can put one on top of each other and build something onto your base. So you want to think about how you can build things up. I'm also going to show you, if you are using something like this, like more bulky 3D objects, you can still add little details. So you see here at the back, I added a little hairdo back here, kind of also looks like a crown, onto my character. So I glued it to the base, a yellow piece of paper. Oh, somebody says somebody's been inspired by the person who's using chopsticks. Somebody says we like chopsticks, and they're going to add that to the bowl of berries that they already have. Oh, I love that idea. So good. So if you are doing something with objects that are more 3D, more like this or round, you can still add color and detail, even though it might be kind of hard to add color to some objects. I'm going to show you here like this. Okay. Right. So, right. I'm going to put a little glue, a lot of glue. There we go. See, I'm not shy about using a lot of glue. I'm going to give him, and it dries clear, the school glue that you have. And I like to put a lot of glue on for this project. So you can see I've given him a little waistband here by adding paper. And you might find that some of your objects at first, when you put glue on, slip around a little bit, but that's okay. It will dry clear once you put it to the side, once it's finished. So you can always, once you finish it, you just got to leave it to dry somewhere and it will dry clear. But that's just an idea if you want to add color or detail. Remember, I'm not showing you anything specific. I'm showing you some different ways that you could put things together, but really start to think about your culture and identity in even the colors that you use. So for example, I'm thinking about this cup of tea that I've made here, right? And I'm going to add colors that remind me of my home in England, where I grew up. So I remember some of the rooms in my house were often like pinks and amber colors and mustards. So I'm gonna do some cut stripes in the colors that remind me of being at home, and I might even make the top like this. This should be a really special object to you. It should be something that, just like the scarab amulet that had all those special engravings on them, you should make this something really special to you, very specific to you, your family.
Someone's finished their first one, so now they're making a second one, and it's a snowman because they missed Chicago, where they're from.
Oh, I love that. That's such a good idea. So I love that you're super speedy. I'm going to give you one, if you are finished, I'm going to give one other tip. I'm not going to finish this. I want to show you something I did. So one thing that I loved about that scarab amulet that I showed you is that when you turn it over, it had something on the other side. So you can see here with this one, I had my cardboard base. And what I did is I actually glued a piece of pink paper on the back as well, so that you can put secret messages or symbols or pictures on the back. So let me show you with this finished one that I did before. I turned it over and I added little symbols and even my initials. My name's Billy Ray Vincent, so I added my initials on the back and little pictures and things that are special to me. It's like a hidden message on the back of your object. And you can even do this if you're doing yours flat and on collage. You can turn it over and add little special messages or pictures on the back of your object. Could be your initials, could be symbols or things that are special to you and from your culture or from your special to your family. So that's another little trick. If you're completely finished, you can add a little secret something to the back. Because often we don't think about the back of our artworks, right? But it's important to think about, you could add a little secret message on the back. But I love that idea of the snowman being a symbol for Chicago. That's a really good idea. Okay, so I'm going to keep adding some colors. What was I going to check in? Oh, somebody says, is that blue cup made of clay? Actually, no, it isn't. This is made of cardboard. All I did was glue bits of paper towel on top of it. And that's how I got it. And then yeah.
Oh, someone's putting ribbon at top so they can hang it so both sides will be able to show.
Oh, what a great idea. I didn't even think of that. Yeah, you could, if you, if you're in your room or somewhere in your house, you could actually put a little bit of ribbon on the top and hang it so that it would spin and you could see both sides. I love that idea. What a great idea. Somebody said that they're using cotton balls. Oh, I bet that makes a really fluffy texture as well. Again, that's like Susie's suggestion of using yarn. So we actually only have a few minutes left before I would like us to, well, we can keep making art, but we only have a few minutes left before I want us to kind of share in the chat something that we've made kind of all at once. So in a few minutes, it doesn't matter if you aren't completely finished. I would love everyone, because makes our day, both Susie and I, to hear all of the artworks and objects that you've made. So you could share something to describe your object. Like you could share what your object is and how it connects to your culture or family. You could share something that you're really proud of, that you did in this activity or that you're still doing. And you could continue to share things like what you're going to do. So if you're still finishing and you haven't completely finished your project, you could say what you're going to add to the back. So this is a cute one. So this is looks like a family who enjoys fostering dogs. So they made lots of objects connected to dogs and somebody's doggy things. I like that phrase. Because sometimes an activity, something that you do together with your family, is something that can reflect your culture. So that's really important too. I love that. So we're going to think about that. We're going to share in a few minutes time, but I'm going to go back to helping you with some suggestions to finish things off. As I was saying, this is something I made before, and I used paint for this. I didn't say paint for today's project just because not everybody has paint at home. I did, so I used paint to color this in. That's why, and I used paper towel and glue to give it this bumpy texture. That's why it looked a little bit like it's made from clay. But this one is just cardboard. So if you only have cardboard, you can still make something that looks a little bit more 3D. And I haven't completely finished coloring this in yet, but if you want to, at the very end, remember I said you could leave your base just like this, so like a square, or you can cut it out so that it has a shape like this one. So I'm gonna cut mine out, I think. You don't have to do this bit. I just liked, remember the scarab beetle kind of had that egg shape. It was like a nice kind of round shape, and I kind of liked that. So I feel like I'm going to cut mine out. But again, you don't have to do this. You can actually just leave it as a rectangle or a square or whatever shape your base is. So you see now I have a little cup, and I could, yeah, I've still got space on the back. Oh, I need to cover these bits. But I still have space on the back to create a message of some kind. So like I showed you before, you could add shapes and symbols to the back. Somebody says, oh, I like that. Somebody said that they did a sheepdog because it's their school's mascot. Okay. I love this. Okay, I'm going to read some of these aloud because people are already starting to share. So Phil, why don't we start now, since we can keep making art all the way through, and maybe if you're still finishing, if people are sharing, then it can give other people ideas for how to finish off. Like if you have suggestions, like adding ribbon so that to the top, so that you could like imagine that that's a piece of ribbon. You could have it so that it could spin around. That was a great suggestion. So please do share. Let's take a look and read some of these. Let's see. Oh, somebody said that they made a bowl of berries and some chopsticks and a snowball in the sky. Oh, that's so sweet. And they said that they appreciate Susie and I. That's really lovely. So also somebody's just said that they will play with their snowman. But the second object that they made, they're going to give to their baby brother. So I love that idea. He says his baby brother loves banging things to make noise. Well, that's really sweet. Also, the idea of gifting this as a special object inspired by your culture and family and gifting it to somebody, that's a really special gift too. You don't just have to keep it for yourself. Gifting it to somebody else is a really, really lovely idea too. Especially if you could engrave a message on the back that is like something, symbols or pictures that's special to the person that you're giving it to. You could also do that. Okay, let's see. Okay, somebody has said that they have created a video game controller to represent first place in a video game contest. You know, again, the activities that we do together and gaming or being part of the gaming community, that's also part of who we are, our identity and a group, what we do with other people. So that's a really good example. Anything else? Let's keep sharing. Let's see. Does anyone else have any special techniques, or if they don't, maybe you could share what kind of messages you're going to include on the back. We've only got about 2 minutes left, 2 minutes left to share, because then I'm going to hand back over to Caroline and to share some messages at the end. And Susie, do you have any messages you wanted to share as well?
Well, someone said thank you in the chat. That's really nice. Thanks for joining us, everyone. And thank you, Billy. Oh, someone just said great program.
Okay. I think we're going to put a little bit of information about LACMA's. I know that LA County Library does all these amazing programs, but over at LACMA, we also have some fun programs for you. So I think, Susie, do you have that to put in the chat, a little message?
We're actually going to send that as a flyer along with all the resources that the library is going to send out. So that'll be emailed to everyone.
Okay, great. So we're going to be able to share. There's also a more extended version of this project in that info that you'll be able to see. So look out for that, okay? And I want to say, everyone's saying lots of thank yous, and I just want to say thank you to all of you for joining us and for making wonderful objects inspired by your culture. I loved all of the different things you made, the food, and I love to be inspired by the book. And thank you for reading, Cheryl, because that was a great reading about fry bread. But I'll hand back now to Caroline.
All right, well, thank you so much. Thank you everybody for joining us today, and a special thank you to our friends at LACMA, Billy and Susie, for leading us in that amazing art workshop about expressing ourselves and our culture and our family. We hope you all enjoyed the program. If you would like to let us know how we did, please fill out the survey that will be sent to all of you at the end in an email. And also, we're hosting more of these creative storytelling workshops every other week with LACMA until June. So be sure to check out the full schedule online at lacountylibrary.org/LACMA programs. Also on this website are book lists if you want to read more about the themes presented in each of these workshops. And our positive parenting librarian will remain in the event for 10 minutes after the program if you have any parenting questions you would like to post in the chat. You can also schedule a one-on-one consultation with a positive parenting librarian, and we'll post the link to schedule a consultation in the chat again. And if you're interested in participating in more of our upcoming virtual programs, we have all kinds, please visit us at lacountylibrary.org. And with that, we'll stay on for 10 more minutes if you have any parenting questions.
So this is Yvonne, the parenting librarian here. As Caroline said, I'm going to be hanging out here for another 10 minutes, so feel free to add any parenting questions you have to the chat box. Again, I want to thank Billy and the LACMA team so much for always encouraging us to exercise our creative minds. That was a really wonderful program. And maybe one of my favorite things about these LACMA programs is the participation that we see in the chat box, and it's just so much fun getting to see what everybody is coming up with. I particularly liked all the macaroni and cheese and video game controllers in today's art project. That was really fun to see. So I'm going to be keeping an eye out on the chat box to see if anybody has any parenting questions. In the meantime, I just want to take a moment to talk a little bit about why the arts are so important in children's lives and how you can do simple things to encourage your child's creativity and some fun things that you might be able to do at home. So the arts really enrich all of our lives by offering us chances to explore cultural and individual identity, which is something that we touched on with today's program. But it also gives children the opportunity to develop things like thoughts, opinions, and feelings on a wide variety of subjects. So looking at painting or listening to music really has a lot of different emotional impacts on us, like excitement, joy, or sometimes even sadness. So having children take part in the arts is really important for promoting language and social and intellectual development. So it's through the arts that children can really learn how to interpret and think about the bigger world around them. So with some encouragement, when children are encouraged to create art from an early age, they can be a little more confident in their artistic ability. It is normal sometimes for children who have not had the encouragement to kind of be, a little critical or sensitive about their own abilities. So So encouraging that creativity is so very important, and also really important for new opportunities and to be able to have new experiences in personal development. Okay, so some ways that you can encourage your child to be interested in art. So involve your whole family in fun activities. Things like singing and dancing are really great to develop, even beyond creativity and the arts, develop things like a sense of rhythm, develop fine and gross motor skills, develop things like harmony, rhythm, and timing. Dramatic play can be encouraged by providing just some clothes to play dress up in. So if you have any old clothes lying around, that's a really great way to encourage your child to be creative. Give them, maybe give them some old jewelry or clothing for dress up creativity time. And while you're doing artistic or creative activities with your child, make sure to take the time to kind of observe what is going on and talk to them about it. So you might find that it's a good opportunity to naturally introduce concepts like details and patterns, or maybe the colors and shapes, or lines and textures. So we talked a lot in today's program about all of these concepts, and engaging in creative artwork is a really great bridge for kind of introducing these concepts naturally to your child. I know we're currently living in a time where we are limited in the movement and the activities that we have. So prior, things like visiting art galleries, to take in art with your children may not be an option right now. But I don't know how many of you are familiar with Google Arts and Culture. You could just look it up on the web. Google Arts and Culture is really fantastic for visiting art galleries from around the world and visiting, seeing exhibitions just from the comfort of your own home, and being able to stay safe in these times while being able to kind of explore the world a little. So that's a really great activity for encouraging creativity in your child, because you might have a child who's interested in animals, or have a child who's interested in painting. You can go on Google Arts and Culture to find an exhibit or, you know, a museum that kind of caters to your child's interest and builds maybe an art activity around something that you see in that virtual exhibit. So that's a really fun way to be able to integrate art a little more into the things that you do to encourage creativity. So encourage your child's artistic attempts. Some really great ways to encourage your child's artistic attempts is to let them know that you feel their artwork is beautiful, or even ask them questions and show an interest in their creative efforts. So you might want to say things like, oh, that is really being, you know, specific about what you see. Like, that is a really wonderful color. How did you get inspired to use purple for, you know, a dog? So it's a really great way to kind of encourage creativity and communication and bonding with your child. So instead of just saying something general like, oh, that's very nice, or that's lovely, it's a really great way to kind of get your child to open up about their creative process, which helps them to develop their skills, like language skills and visual skills. So, you know, make sure to ask specific questions and show an interest in their artwork. An extension of that is encouraging your child to be creative with their artwork by not questioning the things that you see. So try to avoid things like saying, oh, well, that tree is pink, or that tree, or maybe that's not a great example. Maybe you could say like, that dinosaur is magenta, or that, you know, that's not how a tree really looks, because these things might discourage creativity in your child. So try not to do kind of fix up type comments. Really leave kind of more open-ended questions that allow your child to fully express themselves. So remember to praise your child always for their efforts and praise them for continuing activities like practicing music or painting, or just, praise them for the things that you see that you really like, and take the time to connect with them and really show them that you care by being interested and engaged in what they are doing. Okay, I think we will wrap it up. Thank you so much again for joining us for this really fun program on a Friday today. I'm going to hand it over to Caroline to see if she has anything else to add.
No, we'll just go ahead and end the program. If you do end up having any parenting questions, remember you can sign up on the consultation link for a one-on-one consultation. If not, we will end the program right now.